Good morning. We are Signal Centre Talking Ball. I'm Joe Neighbour, joined by Steve O'Hare. Morning, Steve.
Morning.
How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks.
Superb. Right, going to get stuck straight in today. We've had some news out from Johnson & Johnson with regards to the vaccine after a rare immune system disorder was reported in about 100 of the cases of the 12 million people who have received the inoculation. Also, a little bit of concern that the country is faltering in regards to the vaccination rates after a 47% weekly jump in infections. So clearly not over it all yet, but the hospitalisations and deaths appear to be dropping as a result of the vaccine. So
Yeah.
bit of a balancing act obviously required. UK talking about a full unlocking of restrictions in just under a week now. So yeah, potentially some challenges ahead, which I think we all expected. In terms of what's going on today, we've got June reading for the US inflation that's due this afternoon. It'll be the first glimpse at data since the Federal Reserve minutes showed that the monetary policy officials are now a little bit concerned over rising prices. So we'll wait and see what comes of that. According to Bloomberg economists, they expect a higher CPI print than other economists do on average, with the figure set to remain in the 4.5% to 5% range through year end, which is pretty significant. A few other bits and pieces going on. One big thing that I sort of caught on the Bloomberg email this morning was more fresh highs for US stocks yesterday, but that isn't a broad-based rally. So although we've seen it in the S&P 500, Dow, and the Nasdaq, we haven't seen it in the small cap index, which typically is sort of a better barometer of risk. If that's moving up to new highs, then it suggests that the economy is in good health. But also the Dow Industrial average as well. Sorry, the transportation average is well below where that's been. It's been underperforming since May. So a little bit of concerns that it maybe a little bit fragile, and therefore as we approach this latest round of earnings for the second quarter, people may want to be a little bit more prudent rather than chasing these rallies higher. So Steve, let's get stuck into some charts. Where do you want to start today?
I'll start with indices today. Looking at just a couple of things that have happened over the last 4-6 hours, maybe even 8 hours. We got this rally overnight in the DAX, and it took out the high from 14th of June. We had a similar high on the 15th of June. So here we've got potential for a really pretty strong looking reversal. The two candles we've had, we're in the middle of one now. If this manages to close down around the lows of this hourly 4-hour candle, then it could be a significant reversal, looking for price action to fall lower. Obviously, fading some of these rallies, you have to be very careful and make sure you get some decent risk reward in, because they're very risky. So the strategy would be to sort of like setting shorts around here, having to stop above the high, which is 15,816 on this chart. FTSE, we've got almost a similar type of thing. We've not quite as high. It hasn't reached the same high as the DAX. That was at 7,218, so that's underperforming compared to the DAX was a few weeks ago. But again, we've got a little bit of a downward trending resistance line that it's running into at the moment. So be aware of that. Again, the long-term or the medium-term trend is higher. We're only looking for small reversals, small corrections rather than a reversal. Dow Jones, again, if we go back to the 10th of May, we're seeing highs from back there. So on the 4-hour chart, again, we've got a pretty decent reversal candle, bearish engulfing candle, almost a hanging man looking candle, but we'll see if that continues. Again, it would be good to see 2 negative candles on the 4-hour chart to then interpret that as a part of a correction. Nasdaq, again, at the same levels. So we've got the highs here, and pretty much slightly higher again, similar to the DAX. So looking at maybe potential for a double top we'd have to get down below 14,500 for that to play out. So that's 300 odd points away. So a long way to go before we could even consider that as an option. Measured move target on that would be somewhere in the region of, that's how we do measure the move, 14,218. So again, good risk reward for fading it here. DAX though is the one that I would be careful of because it is phenomenally strong most of the time. Same sort of formation in the S&Ps. So same sort of like commentary from that. Let me look at commodities. We looking at oil. This is what I looked at yesterday. I was thinking fading the move or going with this correction. And overnight we've sort of like pushed a bit higher. Still got the Ichimoku cloud resistance here. Volumes are dropping off while the price is moving higher, and this is a lower high at the moment. So again, be careful of this. Should find some resistance here, but probably oil is one of the ones I wouldn't feel too confident about fading. New sentiment on that is pretty bullish at the moment, so be careful of that. On the gold side of things, again, this is what we looked at yesterday. This is one of my thoughts on the gun to head challenge, which I didn't go with, but it played out really nicely, but it's taken a lot longer to play out. So yeah, pushing back up and looking like we're potentially going to retest this 1818 level on gold. And it's the support below the Ichimoku cloud support is looking pretty hefty now. Whereas if it was back here, support is a little bit light. As we sort of continue forward and remain sort of at elevated levels, this looks better and better. So for me, gold is moving higher. Next test is 1818 before we see an assault on the maybe possibly 1845. And let me look at cryptos. What are you doing, Bitcoin, you bad boy? The list looks pretty nice for me. It would have played out if I'd held the position from yesterday, would have hit target this morning. Found a little bit support at this area I highlighted, which was a previous swing low, 32,700, and it stalled around there. So maybe potential for a little bit of a pullback higher. But I do feel if we do get a sell-off in indices, potentially crypto could follow it. So and gold maybe prove to be the safe haven. That's about it, Joe.
Lovely. Cheers, Steve. Right, a quick roundup on FX then. So dollar index first up. We saw that dip down to close to 92 in the last couple of sessions, and the buyers seem to have stepped back in. So still of the opinion that dollar index is in a bullish phase, correcting higher, and we will see higher prices. First up, looking for that 93.02 level. In extension of that, looking for 93.43, which completes this big double bottom pattern on the longer term chart. So still looking for higher prices on that. Then obviously on the flip side of that, looking for lower prices on euro dollar. So we did see a bounce from the neckline of this head and shoulders pattern that we've got drawn on the daily chart, but looks to be rolling over a little bit now. So it was a case of selling into strength, I think. Not really much going on in terms of volume on the tick up. Yes, there was a little bit of a push higher there, but nothing particularly great, and it certainly hasn't been backed up in the following days. So this remains the key level, which is at 117.81. If this breaks down, then we complete the head and shoulders top, and we can be looking for lower prices over the medium term. Looking at cable, that's had a little bit of a push higher in recent sessions, but seems to be rolling over a bit. For me, I think this is just going to be range bound, and I think opportunities will be quite limited for the time being. If we look at some of the other assets linked to dollar, Aussie US dollar has completed the head and shoulders top for me, and I think lower prices will be seen. So if you do get any sort of phases of strength, for me, I'd be looking to sell into those. So around about 75.32 today, I think would be a decent opportunity to get short. Aussie yen, this has completed a top pattern for me as well. Big range that had formed over recent weeks and months, broke down. Yes, we've seen a bit of a retest and it has overshot where I thought it would go, but I still think the opportunities here are to be selling into this strength. So again, expecting lower prices down to around about 79.15 over the short to medium term. What else have we got? New Zealand dollar, US dollar, still on the cusp of potentially forming a top here. It needs to break down below this 69.43 level on a closing basis. We did do it there, but we sort of come roaring back. So I guess really we now need to see it take out that level there, which we hit again a few days later, and that is at 69.23. Dollar CAD still looking pretty good, having broken out of this wedge. We've posted a bit of an engulfing candle here, but the buyers seem to have come back in today. Again, this will be linked to dollar strength. And obviously with this inflation number due out today, which is 130, which is obviously high importance, that could have a say on what the US dollar does today. It's also worth noting that it's the beginning of earnings season. We've got Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan both reporting prior to the market open. So potentially some fireworks later on. Steve, quickly onto the gun to the head because I've got to jump off for a call shortly. But
Yeah.
Yesterday I was stopped out on my call, which was selling DAX. And as you pointed out, he made money on Bitcoin, 1.48R. If we'd held on beyond 9 p.m., then it would have gone on to go and hit target. But unfortunately, we stopped these out at 9 p.m. so we can reset them the following day. So what are you fancying today?
I would really like to sell DAX. I'm going to sell DAX much against my better judgment. So if I'd have gun to my head right now, this is the trade I would put on. Obviously, so effectively, we're sort of saying this shouldn't work because we would think that we'd need to sort of spend a bit more time analysing to see these things work. But I'm going to keep a tight stop, and this is what I'm saying. It's a good opportunity for risk reward here. I'm going to go for a 10-to-1 shot. What's the chances of that? Well, 10-to-1. Selling DAX here, having a stop at 15,833, so it's a little bit above the previous swing high, and targeting a move back to this. What would cause this? I don't know. There's a lot of bad things going on, it feels, in the world. So maybe there is a small 10-to-1 shot potential.
You never know. Okay, good luck, Steve. I'm going to take a look at Euro Yen. So this is the hourly chart. I've got it trending lower. It's also set up like that on my daily chart as well. So I'm going to quickly jump on this at 130.76. Stop loss above the recent swing high that we posted here into resistance at 4 o'clock this morning, which failed. So stop at 131.11, and I'm targeting a move down to these recent swing lows that we posted back on the 8th of July, which comes in at 129.63. So looking for the 3-to-1 there on Euro Yen.
Excellent.
Okay, as we said, 130. We've got inflation numbers, and keep an eye out for Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan prior to the market open at 2:30 in the US. And Steve, we're going to wrap it up there because we haven't got much time, but we will be back.
I tell you what, Joe,
tomorrow.
You can pop off. If anyone hangs around, I'll just talk about news sentiment.
Yeah,
so you can
go for it.
pop off, and I'll talk about it. Show people what we're looking at. All right. Cheers, Joe. Hi all. So one thing I'd like to show people is a little bit of what we do behind the Talking Bull show. We post a lot of intraday trade ideas, and we look at markets and we take a fresh look at it every day. After the recent purchase by Acuity, we have had an insight into some of their tools, which we as traders think are pretty fantastic, and we're very excited about working with them and pushing things forward. But the one thing that our new dashboard shows is a couple of things. Well, let's dive into it. So we've got a little radial gauge here, and that's a new sentiment score. So that tells us that in the past 24 hours, there is basically positive negative news flow has been pretty even. It's around 50% in the DAX. So that when you get news sentiment scores looking like this on the CAC, 100% positive, that tells us that the news volume, the positive news volume out of CAC has been 100% more positive than normal. So that's a good indication to put two sentiments together. So then what we can do is we can take the news sentiment, we can look at the technicals. Technicals we could use as the entry. The news sentiment obviously is one of the main drivers. And you can see we've upgraded our confidence score. We can see 1 to 5 bars on this confidence score. That tells us we are basically using a bit more than we have done before. We're looking at the short, the medium, and the long-term trend. We're also looking at the new sentiment, so that's incorporated into the confidence if new sentiment is positive and we are buying, and the short, medium, and long-term trend are positive, then, and that would give us 4 bars. The 5th bar is how well our analysts are doing. So sometimes analysts go through stages where their calls, as you can see from our talking bull, their calls are great or they're not so great. So if our analysts have a positive win rate over the last 10 trade ideas that they have triggered, then they'll get a score of 1 there. That'll give them a 5 bar. So you might see some of these with 5 bars. That's everything is with the trend, the short, the medium, and the long-term trend. The new sentiment is very positive over the last 24 hours, and our analyst is performing very well. So I just thought I'd divulge that to you. There's more tools we'll introduce you on the acuity side of things, and the joint products that we're working on over the coming periods. So keep an eye out for that. And if you like what we see here, we can introduce a little bit more of this into the show, which we are trying to sort of keep a little bit more watchable. Sometimes it feels like if we go on for half an hour, we've gone on to 15 minutes too long, maybe. So let us know your views, and yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Take care.